In the endless dark of space, we were never the first to throw a punch. For millennia, humanity looked to the stars with wonder, with hope. We sent out messages of peace, of friendship, our little Voyager probes carrying golden records like olive branches to the cosmos. We dreamed of meeting others, of sharing knowledge, of joining a grand galactic community. And then, one day, they answered. It wasn't with a message of peace. It was with fire and ruin. The Cathar, a species ancient and cruel, saw our little blue marble not as a home, but as a resource. They saw our art, our music, our love, and our laughter as nothing more than the chirping of insects before the boot falls. They descended without warning, their fleets blotting out our sun. Cities turned to glass, oceans boiled, and billions of lives were extinguished in the blink of an eye. They thought we were weak. They thought we were just another primitive world to be conquered and stripped bare. They were wrong. From the ashes, something awoke. Not the peaceful explorers we once were, but something far older, far more primal. The survivors, scattered in bunkers, deep beneath the scarred surface and on fledgling colonies across the solar system, didn't just mourn. We got angry. We remembered every fallen city, every silenced voice, and we swore an oath, not on any holy book, but on the cold, hard certainty of vengeance. Our ingenuity, once used to build cathedrals and compose symphonies, was turned to a singular, terrifying purpose: war. We reverse-engineered their technology from the wreckage they'd left behind. Our factories, hidden in the asteroid belt and the deep chasms of Mars, began to churn out warships. But these weren't copies of Cathar vessels. They were human. They were faster, tougher, and hit harder than anything the galaxy had ever seen. We didn't just build ships. We built weapons that defied the known laws of physics. We weaponized gravity, tearing their fleets apart with localized black holes. We created self-replicating nanite swarms that consumed their dreadnoughts from the inside out, turning them into inert husks of metal. We mastered FTL travel in a way they never imagined, not just jumping between stars, but folding space itself, appearing inside their formations, behind their lines, everywhere at once. We became ghosts, striking from the shadows of hyperspace and vanishing before they could even target us. The Cathar were baffled. This wasn't supposed to happen. Primitive species were meant to break, to surrender. But humans, we didn't break. We adapted. We learned. We fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness. We turned their own tactics against them, but amplified them 1,000-fold. They used orbital bombardment. We developed planet crackers that could shatter a world's crust with a single shot. They practiced. We liberated every world they had ever conquered, and those freed peoples, bearing millennia of grudges, eagerly joined our crusade. The war lasted for a century, a human century. For the long-lived Cathar, it was a sudden, violent storm. We pushed them out of our solar system. We chased them through their own territory. We hunted them across star systems they had ruled for eons. Our ships, christened with names of vengeance and remembrance, like the Hiroshima-S Shadow and the Warsaw-S Fury, became legends whispered in fear across the galactic comms channels. Our soldiers were different, too. Genetically enhanced, cybernetically augmented. They were trained in simulations forged from the worst horrors of human history. They were relentless, resourceful, and utterly unforgiving. A single human marine became more feared than an entire Cathar battalion. They didn't just fight for territory. They fought for the memory of 1 trillion souls. They fought with the fury of a species that had stared into the abyss and decided to make the abyss stare back. The turning point came at their throne world, a fortress system 100 times more fortified than Earth had ever been. The Cathar Empire, confident in their defenses, broadcast a message to the galaxy, showing the human vermin about to be crushed. The Galactic Concordance, a council of ancient, powerful races, watched with detached interest. They had seen empires rise and fall. This was just another Tuesday. Then our fleet arrived. It wasn't just a fleet. It was an eclipse, a swarm of ships so vast it blocked out the light of their triple suns. And at its heart was our ultimate weapon, a device born from the darkest corners of human theoretical physics. We didn't target their fleet. We didn't target their planet. We targeted their suns. We sent a signal, a simple, elegant equation that unraveled the very fabric of stellar fusion. In an instant, all 3 stars in their system went supernova simultaneously. A wave of unimaginable energy washed over their throne world, their fleets, their entire system, scouring it clean of life in less time than it takes to draw a breath. It was an act of cosmic violence on a scale the galaxy had never conceived. The broadcast cut to static. Across the galaxy, a silence fell. The Galactic Concordance, the pirates in the Outer Rim, the traders on the hyperlens. Everyone had seen it. A primitive species, barely spacefaring a century ago, had just extinguished a star system as casually as snuffing out a candle. They hadn't just defeated their enemy, they had erased them from existence. They had retaliated with such absolute disproportionate brutality that the very concept of attacking them became unthinkable. After that, the war ended. The remaining Cathar fleets surrendered unconditionally, begging for a mercy they themselves had never shown. We granted it, but on our terms. Their empire was dismantled, their weapons destroyed, their history rewritten to serve as a warning, and the galaxy stayed silent. The chirping messages we had once sent out into the void were replaced by a new message, a silent one. It was the empty space where the Cathar throne world used to be. It was the memory of a species that had been pushed too far. We returned to our rebuilt Earth, to our solar system, and looked out at the stars again. But the wonder was gone, replaced by a grim vigilance. We didn't want to be the galaxy's monsters. We just wanted to be left alone. The silence from the other races was deafening. They weren't ignoring us anymore. They were afraid of us. They learned that day that while humans may sing songs of peace, you should never, ever make them sing a song of war. Because our fury, once unleashed, is enough to make the stars themselves fall silent. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the edge of the galaxy.